that they will be resolved in the upcoming month. First and foremost, we have quantitative tightening that ends on, I think it's December 1st. With its most recent meeting, many observers now anticipated that the Fed will halt quantitative tightening. It didn't. The markets were a little uneasy about that. And according to a number of Fed insiders, there is growing concern that inflation won't keep declining. On the contrary, we hold a very strong opinion. Well, however, we bear the burden of proof. Well, there have been sticky signs. One of the causes is tariffs. Even so, we believe that at least half of the impact of tariffs has been absorbed by business. Therefore, we believe that quantitative tightening will finish on December 1st. The cryptocurrency market is at last beginning to show signs of recovery. And you know what? You most likely saw the video in which Cathie Wood becomes extremely optimistic about December being the actual market turning point. It's pretty fascinating stuff, isn't it? Later in this video, I will play the remainder of the clip for you. But first, let's examine the current state of affairs in the cryptocurrency space. The arrangement with cryptocurrency is as follows. Yes, it's fantastic news that Bitcoin has risen above 90,000. With a total cryptocurrency market capitalization of over $3 trillion, we're still in a good position. However, this is the thing that has everyone baffled. The majority of altcoins are still having trouble. Consider XRP as an example. People are asking, why aren't we seeing this massive surge across all cryptocurrencies, while it hovers at $2.18? Just take a look at what transpired with equities. They've made an amazing comeback. Last week, the stock's Fear and Greed Index was at a savage 12. In fact, it reached its lowest point on November 20th at around 7 o'clock. That was quite unsettling territory. However, we have been crawling out of that hole ever since. We're currently at around 24, which is still a very high level of fear, but hey, that's progress. And during this recovery, stocks have blown up. We've essentially returned to our starting point from November 12th. I've been arguing that we shouldn't become overly enthusiastic until we truly overcome these crucial stages. I'm keeping a close eye on the S&P. $6,870 will be a significant amount if it can be recovered. That should put us back on track to challenge those all-time highs from October 29th and offer us a higher high. To be honest, I'm very excited about this stock rally. Here's the big question, though. Why aren't Bitcoin, XRP, and other altcoins going crazy right now if stocks are doing so well? What is the matter? It all boils down to one word: liquidity. Liquidity has been lacking in the cryptocurrency space for far too long. In a moment, we will discuss this in further detail. Considering our current situation, we are gradually but surely emerging from the realm of acute terror. At the moment, the overall crypto terror index is about 20. Remember, this is more than simply Bitcoin. The index of Bitcoin's fear and greed speaks for itself. The good news is that when looking at the entire cryptocurrency market capitalization, we are slowly rising again after that terrifying decline below $3 trillion. That is unquestionably encouraging. Let's now discuss Bitcoin in particular. The price action appears to be very stable for this weekly candle close. You have a good weekly support level of about 86.6K. This is the problem. If we wish to be certain that we have reached our bottom, we must not close below that level. What's interesting, we seem to be in a fairly similar stage of the market cycle when we compare March and April. We should see a much larger reversal on this chart after another week or two, in my opinion. There is one important level I'm keeping an eye on for this week's close. I'm referring to Sunday's close here. Bitcoin should close above 93.6K in my opinion. It would be a great indication that Bitcoin is ready to recover a significant support level that dates back to 2024 if we are able to accomplish it. And after that, there ought to be an easy way for us to return to those earlier highs above 100,000. I understand that everyone is eager, but it will take some time. Folks, we must exercise patience here. Overall, Bitcoin continues to appear to be in good shape. However, we still have a ways to go when it comes to altcoins like XRP. The majority of these altcoin charts continue to struggle with significant resistance levels. XRP in particular. There is still a lot of work to be done, regardless of whether you are seeing the weekly chart or the 24-hour timescale. Don't worry though, we'll outline exactly what to anticipate next. Let's talk specifically about XRP now. I would really want to see us surpass $2.27 on the weekly chart. That will be very important. This is where things start to get interesting though. Compared to shorter durations, the weekly chart presents a rather different picture. Way above $2.40 is our primary resistance level, which is what I'm really concentrating on for the weekly. However, we should begin observing the lower time frame structure on the 24-hour period to see if we can generate any genuine bullish momentum. This is the issue that we are now facing. The bearish pattern in which XRP has been trapped has resulted in lower highs and lower lows. This is not the pattern we want to see. This pattern begs for bearish action. Thus, we must break out of this cycle immediately. This is what I'm observing with XRP, and you might be surprised. The weekly candle closure isn't exactly on my mind at the moment. I'm totally focused on those daily candle shuts instead. I will not be very enthusiastic about the price action of XRP until we are able to recover $2.57 and then break through $2.69. We have a lot of work ahead of us. This game has a straightforward name: higher highs and lower lows. What we must see is that if we can maintain that current low of $1.83, I think XRP remains fairly neutral until that pattern appears. However, if we drop below that level, we would become extremely pessimistic, which is not where we want to be. Here's something truly intriguing now. In fact, XRP has been dominating lately. With a 17.5% increase over the previous week, XRP was among the top gainers. It was outperforming practically everything else in the large cap area, albeit it has subsequently somewhat retreated. Here we're discussing top 10 performances. When you consider it, that is quite astounding. What has been the reason for XRP's success? It's all about the hype around ETFs. There has been a lot of interest in XRP due to the ETF hype. Here's the big question though. Why isn't XRP soaring to new heights at this moment if it has been doing so well? Why doesn't it seem to be going fully crazy? Indeed, there are two primary causes. First, the complete reversal of Bitcoin has not yet occurred. Second, and this is really important, it all boils down to liquidity. Guys, liquidity is crucial in this market. Diepsun wrote a fantastic piece on X that explains everything that's going on. Everyone is asking why XRP isn't moving, he remarked. This is the reality. Through a process known as quantitative tightening, or QT, the Fed has been squandering liquidity. Indeed, they have been engaging in this behavior. Risk assets suffer greatly when USD liquidity is as constrained as it is now. We're discussing stocks, cryptocurrency, anything. What about XRP? Since it is grouped with cryptocurrency, it is also under attack. This is where things start to become very interesting, though. Stress signals are currently being flashed by the repo markets. Banks are completely overburdened. And you know what? QT will soon be terminated by the Fed. They will not now initiate full-scale quantitative easing or other such drastic measures. However, a major signal for the markets to wake up is the end of QT. Things get interesting when that liquidity begins to return to the system. When liquidity returns, this is what occurs. ETFs begin to accumulate more quickly. Market makers get quite active. Suppressed coins like XRP finally have their chance to surge while riskier equities soar higher. Thus, XRP is not a latecomer. It is currently trapped in this macro liquidity trap. However, XRP makes a significant shift when the Fed turns that switch and liquidity floods back in. And this is precisely the reason Cathie Wood is currently becoming so optimistic. We should visit ETF Tracker and see what she has to say. Get this, Cathie Wood recently stated that as liquidity returns, the current market weakness will pass. She refers to the Fed's anticipated termination of quantitative tightening on December 1st as de facto easing. She also believes that rates will be lowered at the meeting on December 10th. What exactly did she say? We anticipate that the liquidity problems will be resolved in the upcoming month. That they will be resolved in the upcoming month. The first is that I think December 1st is the end of quantitative tightening.